Welcome to Let's Talk About It. A podcast gives a platform for real talk, real people, real topics, real conversations. Please subscribe, like, comment, enjoy this journey, and enjoy this ride. Welcome to this week's episode. All right, here we go. Welcome everybody to Let's Talk About It. A podcast that gives a platform for real talk, real people, real topics, real conversations. Before I get into my guest today, I want to thank all the subscribers I have that have subscribed to this podcast. Please give me more likes, give me comments, even to this podcast today. The more likes and more comments I have, it'll take my algorithm up to a different level. I'm trying to get to 10,000 followers. I'm almost there. Once I get there, I'm gonna have a little special surprise giveaways to like certain people and certain guests. All right. Uh Today's guest is basically about being a widow and how it is after being a widow. There's a lot of widows out there, which I'm gonna read off this fact right here. There are over 11.8 million widows in the United States of America. 11.8 million. All right. There is approximately 2,800 new widows every day. Every day. Crazy. The average age of a widow is 59. Now, after COVID, the widows' number have climbed, but also to a younger age, between the women of 30 to 49. As of 4 days ago, over 49,000 new widows between 30 and 49 in the last 4 years. Today, I'd like to introduce my guest, Kim. How are you?
I'm doing good. How about yourself?
That's great. It's great. Kim and I have had many conversations off air. She is a surviving widow. She's a great human being, great person, very smart, very intelligent. And she came on here, right, to tell her journey, her story, how she met her husband, what happened, and how she's dealing with life afterwards. Because there's many widows out there that, they all got different stories, and maybe her story can help out on other widows out there. So, Kim, let's start off with how you met your husband.
So I met my husband back in 2000, um, roughly April 2000. I met him actually in a nightclub,
Oh.
which is interesting because there's an interesting story behind that. I don't know if you want me to go into detail about that part, but basically, he was drunk. I was not because I don't drink. And he fell on the floor, and then he came around and sat on the other side of me and then asked if he could sit down. So after that experience, we talked like all night long, and then I got his phone number and then called him about a month later. And then he was like, "Okay, I've been looking for you. Where have you been?" And at that time, I never really went out, so that's where that came from. And then we've been together ever since.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. So how many years did you date before you got married?
So he moved in with me 2 weeks after I met him.
Whoa.
Yeah, and then um, we got married in 2001.
Wow. I'm kind of curious about this. 2 weeks after you met him, I mean, that's some real love right there.
It is. I mean, he was so he was getting out of the military and he needed a place to stay. And this, at that time we spent like every single day together, and then we decided what we were going to do.
Okay.
And we had this grown person conversation when we were 20. And it was like, listen, what do you want? What do I want? And then we basically decided that we wanted to be together. And he moved in with me. And then a couple months later, we met in Fairbanks, Alaska as well. So then we moved to North Carolina after that, and has been here pretty much ever since.
I'm kind of curious, Kim, like, how did he ask you to marry him?
So I was coming home from work that day. I used to work at Bank of America at that time. And I had a really, really bad day at work. So when I got home, him and his cousin were actually there. And then my daughter was there as well. And he had a necklace around my daughter's neck with the ring on it.
Mm.
And he kept trying to get me to look at this necklace. And like I said, I was having a bad day. So I was like, I don't feel like looking at it. Just, leave me alone kind of thing. And then
Yeah.
finally he was just like, okay, I need you to look at it because, your ring is on there. So basically, that's how, how it was. So yeah. But he was spontaneous like that.
Oh,
Yeah.
I like that. I like that. So before we get into your marriage part, like, how was your wedding day?
How was our wedding day?
Yep.
So we woke up on Valentine's Day 2001 and decided we were just going to go down to the courthouse and went down and got married. We were the first people to get married in Durham County.
Wow. I
Yeah.
like that. I like that. So how many years was you guys married?
20, almost 25.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right. You have kids together?
So we do. I have a daughter from a previous marriage, and then I have my son with my husband. So
Okay.
my son just turned 20.
All right.
Yeah.
So how was your marriage like overall in those 23 years?
So of course, marriages always go up and down, but it also evolves every single day. So with that being said, you're not going to like your person every single day.
Yeah.
But I will say, at the end of the day, we always agreed on what we were going to do and what was going to happen that day. Excuse me. Um, Sam had to be the most caring and loving person ever. So,
Mhm.
and he had to be with me because I'm impatient and he's patient.
Yeah.
So he was the kind of person that would latch on to what you were saying, and then
Mhm.
he would take care of it. Like I wouldn't even have to ask for anything. So he would fix it. He would do whatever he had to do to make me happy, and that's what marriage was about for us.
I like that. I love that. So Kim, tell me what was the moment, right, when I guess because you said me you talked about this, like he got sick. So tell me, like, walk us through that.
So Sam had a call for about a year prior to him being diagnosed with his illnesses. Um, Sam was prior in the military, but he also has been working on heating and air conditioning for 20 plus years, 25 years plus. So he's always really had a cough, but I noticed because I work in somewhat of the medical field that this cough was persistent, but it also never really went away. So I continued to ask him to go to the doctor, which he's stubborn and he never really went, as most men are.
Yeah.
So finally, I was just like, either you're going to go to the doctor or, I'm going to drive you there myself and then we'll just go from there. So he actually made an appointment to go see his primary care doctor. They did an x-ray of his chest and a few other things. And then it takes a couple days, like 2 or 3 days to get the results back. So when he got home, his cough got persistently worse. So I was like, okay, you need to go to the emergency room. And at that time I was working in an emergency room as a social worker. So I
Yeah.
was like, you need to go to the emergency room. He continued to fight me, talking about how it was just allergies and, was taking allergy medicine and was not listening to anything that I was saying. So I was like, listen, I'm going to go to work, but if it gets worse, you need to call me or you need to come into the emergency room. And my daughter, who was in college at the time, called me because she was home at this time and was like, Daddy's trying to tie his shoes, but he can't breathe. It's like he's out of breath. So I was like, okay, get him in the car and then bring him here. Like put his slides on and then bring him to the emergency room. So he got there. I had already spoke to the charge nurse and a few other people, and then they immediately got him a room in the back because he was not able to breathe.
Mhm.
So he stayed in the emergency room for about 12 hours, and they hooked him up to like oxygen and stuff like that. And he was also like coughing persistently.
Wow.
And side note, I forgot to tell y'all, he is a smoker or was a smoker at this time. So as he's in the emergency room, about 12 hours later, he got moved up to the hospital floors to be observed and everything. So by this time, they came back and told me that he had double pneumonia. Um,
Oh.
So I never really knew what double pneumonia meant until this point because I'd never known anybody who had pneumonia at all. But double pneumonia is basically where your lungs are drowning in liquid. Um, and then to have a double is basically both of his lungs are drowning.
Okay.
Um, so the rounding doctors and nurses came in, and then the doctor was telling me basically they wanted to intubate him. And I was like, "What do you mean?" And at that time, let me just state for the record that we were going through COVID as well. So I was like, intubating means he's going to die. That was my immediate thought. And of course, I was just like, okay, if you intubate him, I need to make sure that everything is in place, like with my kids and everything. So I remember the doctor telling me, if I had saw you 12 hours ago in the emergency room, I would have intubated you then.
Mm.
Um, Now, mind you, he was about 270 pounds or something like that, but he also, because of all the liquid that was on him and in his lungs, he probably went up to 300 something pounds because he was
Wow.
that swollen. So they asked me to leave the room so they could put the medical equipment inside of him and drain his lungs. And of course, Sam did not want to be intubated, but the guy was like, listen, in order to save your life, we're going to have to do this. So he got intubated. I was an emotional wreck, of course. So I called his family, called the children, basically told them what was going on. And then, his family came, and then my children came up, I think that day pretty much. And then he was intubated for about 2.5 weeks. It was touch and go. They definitely got all the liquid off of him, and he definitely was losing the liquid weight. Um, they actually put a needle in his neck. I remember that needle they had to cut and he had a large beard. And I remember thinking to myself, when he wakes up, he's gonna be upset about this beard thing going on. So they, basically went in and put this needle in his neck just in case they had to do any kind of surgery or anything like that. And then he woke up about 2.5 weeks later, and then he realized what was going on, and then was a little upset. But I mean, at the same time, they basically saved his life, and
Yes.
they gave him all this medication that he had to take. He was discharged about 2 weeks after that, and
Mm.
then he went again. We're sitting on the couch, and I'm listening to his lungs, not lungs, but listening to his breathing,
Yeah.
and it started all over again. Probably about 2 to 3 weeks later. So I was
Wow.
like, "You need to go to the hospital again." So of course he was like, "I don't want to go." I remember the last time I was intubated. I don't want to do this again. And I'm like, for me, we were both 45 at the time. For me,
Yes.
I don't want to lose you. Like, we're 45. We've been together this long. I need you to stay, with me.
Yeah.
So, we argued for about 5 minutes, and he was like, finally, he was like, listen, okay, fine, I'll just go. I'll go to the hospital.
Mm.
Went to the hospital again, and he had double pneumonia again. Um, they don't know why. So this time that he got back into the hospital, they basically did an infectious disease swab of his lungs. Um, and it was going to take some time to get the results back, but at least they would know why he's getting double pneumonia, especially since he had it twice within like that time period.
Mhm.
So he was not intubated the second time. He was there for about 2 weeks. Again, drained his lungs, did all that stuff, and then he was let go from the hospital. We found out that it was called farmer's lung, and there's a technical term, but the diagnosis basically is farmer's lung, which is an allergic reaction to hay or mold or anything like that. And to go
Yeah.
back to what I was saying before, is he has always worked in HVAC, which is heating and air conditioning, and he possibly could have picked up this stuff over the last 25 years. We just don't know when. So we're going on, and he got rid of the double pneumonia, and he's still being seen. And then, do you want me to go on November 12th? November 12th is when he passed away, a couple months later, of a heart attack.
Uh,
Um, so I've always said, and I'm going to continue to say this, I think his body was just tired. And I think that he basically passed because his body was tired. And so November 12th was a regular day. It was a Sunday. Um, I got off work that morning because I was working overnights. And he and my son were hanging out, going to get haircuts and everything. And then I noticed his breathing was off again. So I was like, listen, we're going to have to go back to the hospital again. Um, of course, I don't want to go. Just let me sit here for a minute and then maybe, we'll figure it out. So finally he was like, okay, I'm ready to go to the hospital. So my son and I, which is my son is about 6'1", 6'2", he's maybe 350 pounds, former football player. Um, he and I tried to get my husband into the car and he was like dead weight. Couldn't even move him. So finally I just called the ambulance and was like, I need you to come help him. Um, he needs to get to where he's going. And then the ambulance got there. They gave him a breathing treatment. Um, he was fine. And I said, well, no, don't just leave here. He needs to go to the hospital. So Sam, of course, was like, I'm fine. And then he was like, well, I'll go ahead and go to the hospital. So the ambulance drivers and them were like, do you want to walk or do you want to get on the gurney? And of course, Sam, being the prideful man that he is, was like, I'll walk to the ambulance. He walked to
Wow.
the ambulance, which is in my front yard, and I never saw him again. He had a heart attack that day
Uh,
in the ambulance. Um, so
uh, oh my God, Kim.
I know, I know.
Um, one question:
Sure.
Do you think with everything he was going through with the double pneumonia, and it was going through COVID era, do you think COVID like accelerated?
So I think at first I thought that I will say this. I was guilty about because I work in the hospital settings. I had to get the COVID injection, obviously.
Yeah,
So I asked everybody in my household to get the COVID injections too, because listen, I don't want to bring something home and then get you guys sick.
yeah.
My husband obviously is the kind of person that does not like medication. So he was like, I don't want to get it. And I'm like, listen, please get it because I don't want something to happen to you. I don't want to bring anything home. So everybody got the injection. Um, I do blame myself for his illness because I think that possibly the COVID injection could have exacerbated some of this stuff. But I recently saw the doctor that intubated him the first time he was in the hospital.
Yeah.
And he was like, listen, how have you been? He didn't know. He was like, how's Sam doing? And I'm like, he passed away in November. So I was telling him about how I feel guilty about like this COVID and, getting him the injection and, him passing away. And he was like, listen, um, we've worked together for a long time, but I have to tell you, I think you probably prolonged his life because had he not had that COVID injection, he probably would have passed sooner than he did.
For real. Wow.
So I think that kind of reassured me that I don't have to feel guilty for getting him that COVID injection. But to me, I don't feel like I want to believe that it prolonged his life.
Gosh. Kim, after it happened, when you guys finally laid him to rest,
Mhm.
what was that first night like without him?
Um, it was surreal. I mean, I have been laying next to this person for 25 years, and he's no longer there.
Yeah.
Um, really hard. I did sleep with like his clothing, something to make him smell. His smell be around me. Um, he wore a lot of hats, so his hat still is in the bed with me. So I try to keep him around me at all times.
At this time, how did your kids go through that as well?
So they took it hard at first. They were like, they've never entered therapy, and I've been in therapy for months and months and months, but they've never
Yeah.
entered therapy. I think they're a little bit more resilient than I am because, again, like I've been with him for 25 years, but like my daughter has said before, you spent every waking moment with him. We had breaks where we weren't around him, where we went to college, or were worried about ourselves. So we didn't know him like you did.
Yeah.
And I think that put a perspective on how I was grieving, but also I want to make sure that they're okay. So we have open dialogue conversations all the time. And because my children are adults now, I feel like I can go to them and talk to them about anything. And also, I have an open door for them as well. But they are, every once in a while they break down. Like both of their birthdays just passed. Obviously, this is the first birthday that they've had, without him. Um, Thanksgiving and Christmas were definitely different because he wasn't there. So yeah.
Now you say that because I was going to ask you that. I know it's been a couple of years, but how did you guys handle the first holidays without him?
We didn't celebrate them. We so Sam's birthday is right around Thanksgiving. His birthday is 11/27.
Mm.
So I didn't cook. I didn't do any of that stuff. And to be honest with you, I haven't cooked a good meal in probably since November 12th. I
Okay.
was the person that cooked like every single day. I haven't cooked. I don't really watch TV anymore. So there's things that I'm doing now that I have not done in the past because it's associated with him.
The first year of it, the first year, because like a lot of people say the first year is like the hardest year. Like, how was your mental at that point there?
I think in the beginning, it was really, really hard. I was not in a great space. I was lashing out at people. I was, upset, obviously, crying all the time. So now, as time went on, my daughter and son were like, "Listen, we have to have a discussion with you." And I'm like, "Okay, what is it?" And they're like, "You're like lashing out at us. You're mad with us all the time. We can't do anything right. That kind of thing." And I realized in that moment that I needed to get myself help, which means that because I work in the mental health field, I feel like I can go to providers and be like, "This is what is going on," and get help as much as I can.
Mhm.
So I went to my nurse practitioner and was like, "Listen, I did testing for anxiety and depression, and I scored like through the roof."
Wow.
So they were like, "Okay, let's get you some medication." So I've been stabilized on medication for probably about 6 to 7 months now, and my mood has gotten much better. Um, Although I would like to smile more and laugh
Yeah,
more.
you
Um,
should. I
all,
tell you all the
um, I have my moments where I don't want to laugh and I don't want to smile, but I definitely try to incorporate that more in my life now because, again, I'm here, I'm alive, I'm healthy. Um, Although I feel guilty for being here alone, I'm still representing him in this family. So I want to see eventually grandchildren, milestones, that kind of thing, and represent him and myself. Uh, so I'm getting better. I mean, and I think that's daily. I don't think that that's something that is gonna, change automatically. But I think
time.
every day that goes by, I'm getting happier and happier, and realizing that I need to live my life the way that I am.
Okay. So on that first year, how was your support system?
Okay, listen. I think the first maybe 2 to 3 weeks after the funeral, or during that funeral phase, everybody's supportive.
Yeah.
I think everybody's going to be there, cook for you, be there for you, check on you, that kind of thing. I will say that has dwindled drastically since that 2 to 3 week period is over. I've had to get rid of friends. I've had to, block people because it's just you're not being supportive and you're not being the person that I need you to be in that moment. And I
Mm-hmm.
think because of the fact that I'm so young, but also I'm so used to taking care of everything all the time,
Mm-hmm.
and the fact that people don't know what I'm going through, that is where um, the disconnect, happens with me and everybody else. I will say that I've had to distance myself from family as well, because all they want to talk about is Sam, and all they want to talk about is how sad I am or how mad I am. But I don't want to talk about that. I want to talk about everything else in this world. But
Yeah.
for some reason, that's all they want to talk about. So I've had to distance myself. Where I was talking to family members daily, now I'm talking to them every couple weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So and it is very brief. It's not anything that I'm going to do for like 30 minutes or more.
At this moment in time now, does it bother you now when people come to you and talk about Sam?
No, not at all. I think Sam was such a driving force that this is the man who was so resilient, but he also was incredibly intelligent. Um, Brought a smile to your face. I mean, every single day, kind of thing. Even when I was mad with him, he still would make me smile, kind of thing. But I will. I love his story because, well, first off, I love our story as well, but I love his story as well because I think what happens is not a lot of people know him, but I want his legacy to continue, no matter what, because he had a story to tell. He was there to help people. He's very, like I said, very intelligent. The best thing he ever did was pass everything down to his son. Um, so,
I
even to the
like it.
day that he was passed away, he was still teaching him things and you know, teaching him how to be a man. Even though he was only 19, I think that he got to a place where he wanted to make sure that Samuel was going to be okay when he became an adult.
That's a real man right there. That's a real man. Right. You and I have talked many times, and I'll tell you about my daughter.
Mm-hmm.
And when I went through it, you know, just like you, support was they asked to write what 1, 2 weeks,
Yeah.
maybe three, or some shit like that, and then just stopped.
Mm-hmm.
And you said that you're not when somebody brings up Sam, you're not bothered by it. Let's say I'm the reverse action. And even though mine's going on 2 years, for some reason I get bothered now.
Mm-hmm.
Because when people ask now, I get bothered by it. Because I say to myself, like, well, where the fuck was you like 2 years ago? And that really gets to me. So, you know, just want to put that out there. So let's get to the point where when did you decide, or when did that moment happen when you said to yourself, you know what, maybe it's time for me to move on and maybe see other people or whatever you did. Like, what was that moment?
Um, well, I think it's human nature to have somebody next to you, right? But you always want to have that connection with somebody. And like I've said before, like I'm 46 now, so at this time so Sam passed away November 12th. My birthday is November 6th. His birthday is November 27th. So I was 46, Sam was 45.
Mm.
So I think it's to the point where we've had discussions previous to him passing away that, you should always, it's okay for you to go out and find somebody else. Wait 3 weeks and then you can go find somebody else. I'm like, 3 weeks, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
So,
All
so,
right.
uh, so, we laughed about that. And then, I met somebody about 4.5 months ago that, um, there was a connection there with, and I thought it was going to go somewhere, but it ended up not going anywhere. But in that moment, I think that we were just friends at first, and we got to know
Yeah.
each other, and then we went on a date kind of thing, and then eventually, he asked me to be his girlfriend, and I was like, I thought about it for a little while, and then we talked about it, and then, I told him I was still kind of grieving Sam and everything, and he was okay with that. He was being supportive at that time,
Hmm.
and then, it faded out. So I think that I got to a place where I still want connection, but I don't think I'm ready to date. I'm probably more of let's be friends kind of thing,
Hmm.
and then kind of see where it goes from there. But I think you're always going to have a connection with somebody if you're attracted to that person, but also if, and we've had discussions about this as well, where,
Yeah.
um, I have to be able to have a conversation with you. And if I can't have
Hmm.
a conversation with you, it's not going anywhere. So, conversation, I think looks is always on there, but however, looks is not that important to me. But we have to be able to have a connection somehow, some way. And if you make me laugh, listen, you make me laugh, you got me. So there you go.
Plus
Uh,
that 75% too.
Now I told you about the 75%. It can go up or down depending on what's going on.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's a little inside joke between her and I. So,
I'm flexible when it comes to my 75%. It's not just a hard 75%.
okay. Anyway, yeah. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I got you. Kim, how about this?
Uh-huh.
Like, when you did go out there and you dated or date or whatever, like when you had that first conversation, when you had that first feeling.
Mhm.
How'd you feel? Because like, okay, you a widow. Did you feel guilty? Did you was like, oh man, like, what would Sam say? I mean, should I be doing this? Like, what was your feeling at that time when you first began?
I think it was really awkward when I first went out on this first date that I went on. I think that I did feel guilty for essentially moving on, but it's not really moving on. I think Sam is always going to be in my life, right? And he's
Mm,
always going to be um, he's always going to be there for me to lean back on or talk to or whatever I want to do with his presence, right?
yeah,
Um, and no matter who comes into my life, they have to recognize that Sam is a huge influence on me. So, and I think that's probably my downfall as well. But I think that I can't feel guilty for progressing because at some point in time I'm going to eventually find somebody or
yeah,
kind of go from there. And I think that we go through these stages in life where we recognize that we have to, or not have to, but we're going to have a connection with somebody else. Um, you know, I met somebody the other day. She was like in her 70s or something, 60s or 70s. Her husband had passed away like a couple years prior, and she's on her third marriage now because she fell in love once again.
wow.
So she gives me hope. I mean, I'm not saying that I'll get married again, but what I will say is that possibly there's somebody out there for me.
You too picky to be married.
I told you about that 75%. It goes up and down. It goes. You don't have to be a solid 75.
Kim, right before I ask you the next couple of questions, there's a question I'm kind of curious about.
Sure.
Do you know what widow's fire is?
No.
Okay, I learned this myself. I don't know if you ever went through this. Widow's fire is where widows can feel this is a big thing. This is a big thing with widows for some reason.
Okay.
Where widows can feel an uncontrollable desire for sex following the death of their partner. It's big.
Really?
I've never heard it before. Someone told me about it,
Wow.
and I was like trying to figure out like, okay, like why? And it's the number one thing widows go through.
Okay. All right.
I mean, you have any inkling like that, or like desires like that, or thoughts in your brain?
Of course, of course.
Okay.
I think that you. I mean, again, I'm in my prime, 46. So
Okay, Prime.
I think that I'm always going to have those thoughts and whatnot. And plus, you know, I'm a very affectionate person as well. So with that being said, whomever gets me next or whoever gets me um, will either appreciate how affectionate I am, or they'll just be turned off and then just run the other way, kind of thing. But I mean, I've had those thoughts. I've had those times where I'm just like, okay, I want that's what I want, and
Yeah.
then it goes away because I just don't have time. I don't want it. And again, I was married for 25 years, and I don't want to put myself out there with a whole bunch of people because this dating scene
Oh,
is different than it was 25 years ago.
yeah. Well, before I ask you that question, do you? I don't know if you have been intimate since Sam, but do you think there's going to be a weird feeling being with someone else than not your husband?
I do think it's going to be weird. I think it's going to be weird because I'm used to one set person. But I think that that person's just going to have to understand that, you know, I'm in this position because of what I'm used to, which is my marriage.
Hmm.
And I think that that person's going to have to take it slow with me, just like I would have to take it slow with them. And
Patience, basically,
patience.
right?
And if they decide to wait around and be patient, which not a lot of people are, but if they do decide they want to be patient and stick around, then it'll probably go further because of the fact that he's actually showing me that he cares.
Okay. Kim, what is your opinion of the dating world today? I've already know your opinion, but I guess people would love to know your opinion
It's
because
trash.
you have a very interesting opinion how way the dating world is today.
It is trash.
And why do you think it's trash?
So you and I have talked about this before.
Hmm.
It is for somebody who's been off the dating scene for 25 years to get back into this 2024 dating scene is horrible because people in this bracket where I'm at in 40s and 50s, I feel like they've either had a divorce, they're going through a midlife crisis, or there's been a death in it with their spouse, which means that now they are trying to get out there and date more people than the average person. I'm kind of like a person that likes to date one person at a time. So I don't get how people date upwards of 3 to 5 people or more
Too
at a
much.
time. It's too much.
That's too much.
And to me, I just want to get to know one person. But I feel like sometimes what happens in this, and also in this age bracket, they're looking for the younger person, maybe 20s and 30s. And I could be proven wrong, but some of the people that I've met, that's where they gravitated to,
Mm.
because they don't want to be held responsible for their actions by a 40 something year old. But also,
Oh boy.
I found that a lot of people in this that I meet personally, I've met them,
Mm.
don't like how I'm set up.
What do you mean?
Um, so I'm super traditional.
Mm.
Again, I want to date one person at a time. But
Yeah.
also, like, I'm not the average person that is going to ask you to pay my bills or ask you to give me money for something.
Oh, yeah.
I'm set. Believe me, you when I say this, and I'm not putting all my financial advice out there, but
Yeah. 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 I got you.
I'm set. I don't have to ask you for anything because I have what I have, and I can spoil myself.
Mm.
And I think a lot of people are used to that person who is I need my bills paid. Can I borrow $100 to go get my nails done?
Mm.
Will you buy me these expensive shoes? Will you buy me this purse? Will you buy? If I want something, I'm gonna go get it.
Wait, Kim, why's $100 to get your nails done? Like, why don't you just go to Walmart and get the nail tips?
Say again.
That's it.
There's a disconnect here. There's a disconnect. I can't
Yeah,
hear you.
right.
I can't hear you. There's a disconnect. All of a sudden, I hear this. No, I'm not paying $4.99 to get my nails done. I'm paying upwards. I just recently went to the nail salon and spent $150
Oh
on my
shit.
feet and my hands. So
What?
nothing's yes. Hey. Guys are paying $100 for haircuts now.
Man, listen. All I gotta do is get me a razor. I'm good to go. That costs me nothing.
So I feel like, I mean, listen, again, I feel like, I don't want to say this. I think that most men in this age bracket, either they
Mhm.
have it or they don't, right?
Yeah,
Financially speaking.
yeah.
I think that people that don't have the financial capacity to take care of me feel inferior to me, um,
Mm.
because they're like, I'm never going to be able to take care of her the way, that a man is supposed to take care of a woman because she's already
Right.
taken care of her business. Um, and I think that's another detriment to the dating scene for me because a lot of people want to take care of their woman, but to be honest with
Mhm.
you, I don't need it.
That's an ego thing
It's the
right
ego
there.
thing. And,
Mhm.
I want the next person that I get involved with to understand that I don't want you to have this ego where you know, feel like you have to take care of me or anything like that. Because once we get together or once we're in the blended family kind of thing, or
Mm.
whatever we decide to do, right? There's never going to be a point where I'm not going to be able to take care of you the way you take care of me. So if I
Mm.
pay for dinner and then you pay for dinner and then like I cook dinner for you and then you cook dinner for me, I'm not asking you to pay for groceries or pay for that, dinner. And I don't keep tabs. So if we're going to go to dinner, I don't care. Like I'll pay
Mhm.
for it, you pay for it, that kind of thing.
Mhm.
We'll go back and forth. But I don't want you to feel like you have to keep tabs on how much money I'm spending or how much money you're spending on me. Because I think that's huge for this age bracket as well.
Do you feel that, because a lot of women have said this, that when you're financially stable
Mm.
and you have a good career, because a lot of women now, their careers and lives are up there, 40s, 50s, this and that. And I'm gonna ask you this question: do you feel you have to date down?
Do I feel like it?
Do you feel like you are dating down? You feel like
I
you
do feel
have to
like
date down
I do.
because you are, where you're at today? Because a lot of women, their careers have and financials have soared way past men. So do you feel you're dating down? You have to date down.
I will say that I have dated down. I have definitely didn't realize I was dating down until after the date and everything.
Hmm.
Um, but now I feel like I have to kind of do like a screening when I first meet you to see what's going on.
You know what?
Well, again, I prefer a 6 feet tall person, but I'll go down a couple inches.
It,
5'10" is okay.
it,
But he has to have a job.
You know what? I wasn't gonna bring that up because because she does have this preference of like 6'2", 6'3" type guys. I joke with her all the time about that shit. Kim, right before we wrap this up,
Hmm.
in the intro, I says of 11.8 million widows in the United States, 2,800 daily. How do you feel about that?
That's astonishing. I didn't even realize it was that many.
Uh,
Because if you get anything out of this podcast, this is the thing that I'm going to suggest. So Sam and I were supposed to get our wills and stuff together like the week after. We had an appointment to go see the lawyers and everything a week after he passed away, and we never had anything set up because we thought we had time. Right? We thought we were going to live our life till we were 80. Um, but now you have to put into that aspect of you never know what's going to happen day to day.
Thanks.
Um, it's sad to hear that number because you never really think that, when you get married or get in a relationship, you think it's going to be forever, but you never know how long that forever is going to be. So
Thanks.
I would say cherish your person that you're with, husband, spouse, whomever it is. Um, cherish that person because you don't know when that person is going to leave. And death is permanent. It's something that I deal with every single day. Um,
Yeah.
I mean, I still talk to him and I still, have those moments. And, I've talked to you about this. I cremated Sam, so he's home with me.
Yeah.
But, it's nothing like physical, him actually being there. So another aspect is like I was the person that never really took pictures or took videos of anything because I was always living in the moment.
Yeah. You was talking about
But
this. Yeah.
now I feel like I have to take pictures and I have to take videos of everything because I don't know when I'm going to need that or I'm going to
Yeah.
need or want to give that to somebody because I don't have that anymore.
Kim, you've told an amazing story, amazing journey, right? But before we wrap things up, because at the end I'm gonna give you like the last message. But we're gonna have a little fun
Oh
now.
God.
Yeah, yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. We gonna have a little fun.
Oh my God.
I'm just
Okay.
gonna ask you a little 10 little questions. That's it. I mean, you got plenty of time. I
Okay.
mean, it's a little fun.
Is this the
It's
hot
fun.
seat? Okay. All right.
It's fun. It's probably it's actually something you be your life.
Okay.
All right. Number one, what moment in your life would you want to experience one more time?
Ooh. One moment in my life that I like to experience.
One more time.
Hmm.
Mm.
I think the day that I got married.
Okay.
Yeah. Because it was so
I like.
spontaneous, right? It was more of, okay, like
Yeah.
waking up and going, okay, let's go to the courthouse today.
I love that. I love that. Here go one for you.
Okay.
I think I asked you this before.
Okay.
What was your favorite toy as a kid?
Louis, why you do that? Because I didn't.
What's your favorite toy?
I had this Barbie doll. Matter of fact, let me back up. Not Barbie doll. I had a Cabbage Patch doll that I absolutely loved, and I kept kept that thing around with me. I probably still have it to this day. But I absolutely love that thing, and I got it from my dad, who was stationed in Korea. And I remember how expensive they were in America, right? But over
Hmm.
there, they were only like $10. So
Damn.
he bought us a couple of them. But this one particular one, because it was, and we talked about this before about like skin color
Yeah.
and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Because it was so light skinned, I loved it to death because it looked like me. It represented me.
I love that. I love that. Here go a fun one for you.
No,
If you could have lunch with any one person in the world, no, I'm sorry, any one person from history, who would that be? If you could have lunch with any one person from history, who would that be?
ooh, um, I think Betty White. Believe it or not, I
Ye-
think Betty White because I love. Again, we've talked about this before. I think that I love to laugh, and I think that she is hilarious, and I think that she would give me a run for my money, and we would have great little mocktails. You know,
The way I heard it, man, she's had a lot of fun over her years.
right? Which means we would
Shit.
have fun together. How about that?
Oh my God. All right. Would you rather have 20 hobbies or one single passion?
One single passion.
Okay. What's a hidden talent no one knows about you? A hidden talent. It should be good.
It should be good because I have no idea. Hidden talent. Um,
Jumping jacks. I don't know, some
no, you're
shit.
funny. I know how to sew. I don't know if that counts or not, but people don't
It's a
believe
hidden
me.
talent.
People don't know that about me. They're like, "What?" So yeah, I sew.
Exactly. Actually, I wouldn't think you did either.
Yes, exactly.
I know you don't watch TV and stuff like that, but for shits and giggles, what TV series or movie you can watch multiple times?
The Amazing Race. I absolutely love that thing. I've watched that since day one.
The fuck? What, that's the one that the people they go all over the world and shit they
Yes,
got rushed.
absolutely. And
Wow.
jokingly, Sam and I have always talked about how we wanted to go on the show together.
I like that. I like that. All right. Which word would you use if you could only use it for the rest of your life? One word. One word for the rest of your life. What word would that be?
Can it be a curse word?
It could be anything you want. One word.
Shit.
Okay. There you go. What's the weirdest thing you've ever eaten?
Oh my gosh. Did I tell you about this? I don't know if I told you about this or not. My father's an actual chef.
Mm-hmm.
So he would have us eating different things when we were little.
Okay.
And I've always been freaked out about food ever since. But octopus is the most disgusting,
Ah,
awkward thing that I've ever eaten. And I
mm,
tell you, I'll never eat that junk again.
mm.
I know. I
Oh,
know.
oh,
Uh huh. Yeah. Imagine
oh,
being 8. Yeah.
oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. This is a similar question to the other one.
Okay.
If you can meet anyone in the world today, who would it be?
My friend Denzel Washington. I love him.
Uh,
Hey, hey, hey. He's a great looking old man. I like him.
hey, DZ, I give him mad credit. I give him, he's the man. Last question. This is going to be a good one. What's one piece of advice you wished you seriously have taken? You would took it.
Hmm.
One piece of advice you wish you've taken. You have taken back then. Because I know mine. I guarantee I know mine.
Well, what
It's
is
a
that?
big
Tell
one.
me yours.
Years ago, someone came to me. Actually, this guy came into the office at my old job and said, "Man, you got to invest into this. It's gonna be the wave of the future. $100, leave it in there, let it grow." Over 20 years ago, right?
Hmm.
And guess what it was?
What?
Amazon.
Really?
100, yep. And we all laughed at him.
And now look at you.
Exactly.
Really?
Yep.
Um,
What's one piece of advice you wish you would have seriously took?
I probably would have started investing when I was younger, much younger. Um, because now, I mean, I have what I have now, but I think that had I started investing when I was in my teens or early 20s, I think I would definitely have more and I would have retired earlier.
Oh God, yeah.
Hmm.
Okay. Shit, I wish I would invested in Amazon. I wouldn't.
Right.
Shit, man. Girl, you want me on the phone with me right now? I'll be gone. I'll be some island somewhere.
You might
You
listen.
know.
We would still connect somehow, somewhere. Jeez.
Kim, I'm going to give you the last word. If any female, maybe male, is watching this and they have like recently gone through this, like maybe happened a year ago or a couple of days ago or whatever, what advice would you give them? I mean, yeah, I know everything's different, but what's some basic advice you would tell someone how to cope and how to move on if they can? Not move on, but deal with it.
So I definitely would say you need to take your time. The thing about it is don't rush things. I think that you have to take your time because you have to sort out what's going on as well with your emotions, but also like your financials or family life. I would also say that you're gonna, instead of going to your family and friends and talking about what is going on, you need to have a third party person. And again, I work in mental health, so I kind of know this, but not everybody actually knows that you need a therapist. You need somebody that you can actually bounce things off of, and it can't be your barbershop and your beauty salon and your family members and your co-workers kind of thing. You need somebody who's professionally trained.
Oops. That's all right. I'm here. Keep it going.
Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah, good.
Kind of get it together and go to your therapist and have that person that you can talk to, because at the end of the day, we all need support and we all need to get through this together. So that's what, and regulate your emotions. Find some coping skills. Find things that you like to do. Kind of go from there. Yeah.
Thank you, Kim, for coming on. I appreciate you. You was an amazing guest. I hope people will find this very delightful and informing. I mean, like, you are. Oh man, did you just give me you really? You serious? Really? Seriously?
You say it. Go ahead, say it.
Seriously? Okay. Thank you so much for coming on. Seriously, I mean, like you and I have had many conversations about stuff, and this one is one of the best ones. I appreciate you. Thank you for coming on.
You're welcome. Thanks, Val.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's this week's episode. Let's talk about it. Please like, subscribe, comment, give a comment about this interesting person's.
Wow.
Yeah, I love her to death. She's amazing. I love her to death.
Oh, I love you
Thank
too.
you
I love
so
you.
much. I will see you next week on Let's Talk About It.
All right.
Peace. Thank you for watching the show. Please like, subscribe, comment. Stay tuned next week for another exciting episode on Let's Talk About It.